2 in 3 F&B businesses surveyed by the Restaurant Association of Singapore expect business to be hit hard by COVID-19. Now, they expect a 50 to 70% loss of revenue over the next 3 months. On top of the mind are rental concerns, a worry also shared by retailers. Gwyneth Cho tells us more.
The possibility that we may be in for the long haul in this COVID-19 outbreak has been enough to make some restaurant owners lose their appetite. More than 300 members of the Restaurant Association of Singapore, or RAS, are worried business will fall by between half and two-thirds between March and May. It's the largest association for food and beverage businesses here and represents close to 700 brands.
The two major cost drivers is actually rental as well as labor cost, and together they add up approximately to about 55%, and this is across the entire industry as an average. With the plummeting revenues, and it's been reported by some of the members in RAS that many of them have suffered more than 50% drop in revenues and up to 80% in some locations, and it is not likely that many of the operators will be able to sustain this for any sort of significant period of time.
The association has reached out to 24 landlords, including the major players, to appeal to them to consider reducing rental costs. So far, Jewel Changi Airport has extended temporary relief to all its F&B and retail tenants. It's giving them a 50% rebate on fixed rent for 2 months. As tourists and local footfall quieten in the evenings, some malls have adjusted their opening hours. For instance, Tangs has shortened its hours at its Tangs Plaza outlet, but not at its VivoCity outlet.
Similar for SARS, similar for H1N1, the tourism numbers will always be hit first. No, especially now, when one of the biggest chunk of your tourists, which is the Chinese tourists, has been barred from coming in. So I think it basically spells that the tourist-reliant sectors would possibly benefit more and be more impacted by it, where if you look at the suburban malls, the locals still need a place to hang out and all that. So longer operating hours would still see what we call footfall coming into it.
Other malls like Paragon have allowed tenants to operate shorter hours, but mall opening hours remain. One tenant, children's bookstore Elm Tree Distributors, has chosen to close 2 hours early at 8 p.m. because business slows by 7 p.m. The owner says shorter operating hours means her staff can remain employed. Apart from worries about rent, another concern voiced by businesses, especially restaurants, is manpower. Some are hoping for wage support from the government in the form of CPF contributions. According to real estate consultancy Collier's Research, existing plans to rejuvenate Orchard Road could help lead to rent recovery in the long term, especially when the tourists return. These plans were unveiled by authorities in January last year, and they're designed to broaden the shopping street's offerings to include lifestyle and the arts, in an effort to remain competitive in the global retail landscape. Ultimately, some analysts say it might come down to the survival of the fittest.
This COVID virus, basically what will happen is it will create a bigger differentiation between the two-tier market. That means malls that have all the right attributes and the right mix and all that will remain rather resilient, and it will create more pressure on malls that are facing difficulties.